Hello everyone and welcome back to the Brightworks and another match of Beyond All Reason, where today we're taking a look at a match that was sent on over on the Discord channel. It's a fan submitted game, it's a lower ranked game, so grab your popcorn, grab your snacks, grab your drinkies, and get on the couch, because it's going to be a bit of a back and forth brawl between some commanders that are all just trying to learn the game. I like to take a look at these matches every once in a while as an opportunity to maybe help out some of the folks who might be learning the game for the very first time, and maybe just maybe seeing how it can be better played on the front lines will help you out there in your battles as you try and climb that OS ladder. And anyway, spawning here is the blue Cortex commander right up here on the front line. It's going to be none other than Wicket. Wicket clocking in at 28 open skill, so pretty moderate. I believe I'm at like 29 right now, so Wicket at the very least around the same open skill as Messatois. Is that what that is? Yeah, I think so. Been a while since I've studied any French. The blue commander here, Wicket. Yeah, what else is there to say? Gonna be playing as a Cortex commander, going into some vehicle play here. All very, very stock standard. If you're looking for a way to start playing the game, this is basically as good as it gets. You get your 3 mexes up, you build a little energy production, wind turbines, solar panels, doesn't really matter. And then you start pumping out a couple of these units. Going to be going for some rascals too, to try and do a little bit of harassment on the other side of the map, or maybe just a little bit of scouting. Either way, pretty good. And eventually going to transition into some construction vehicles, a couple of Wolverines. We've got medium tanks queued up, a whole bunch of good stuff right here. All very expensive, but that's why you need so many constructors, is to build all these mexes that All That Glitters does have available. Spawning the backline here as the red team leader, it's Homeless. The name of the commander is Homeless, and yeah, they're gonna be playing some good old-fashioned Cortex Air right here. Good old Homeless, shaking my head, trying to get me demonetized out here or something. It's one of the beauties of having a game where you get to choose whatever on earth you want your name to be. Sometimes the name ends up being something that I absolutely cannot say out loud on the YouTubes, or else they're gonna smite me down. The Google overlords will smite me down like an ant in a lightning strike. But it is what it is. I must break you, the orange commander, going to be playing on the front lines right here. The Tisk, the Tisk, Tisk. Is it like a Tisk sort of a thing? Brown commander here playing on the front line. So, I will note here, between the red and the blue commanders, they have stacked their skill differently here, right? So, the blue team putting a lot of their skill in the front line. They got Penguin, they've got Wicket, they've got Blaze, Protogen, and it looks like we've also got Dillingers, the green commander over here. Taking a little bit of damage, by the way. 2 mexes do go down. A couple of ticks run into the backline and still looking to do a little bit of damage. Rascal not able to shut those down. Hey, wait a second. It's Mike. Gonna blast that one down. Schnucks. See if I'm green commander with the reclaim. The citizens arrest. Doesn't quite get it. Uh-oh. Oh no, there's Tick, a Silver Star General in the backline. Finally goes down, so I can get on with the thought that I was having there, which is that essentially the blue team has put all their skill in the front line, whereas the red team has sort of backlined a big chunk of their skill here. You can see the hot pink commander, the red commander, and it looks like, well, at the very least, the yellow commander is going to be playing in the front line. That's good. But yeah, putting a little bit less of an emphasis on the front line. And speaking of the yellow commander, it looks like Mupper Sega, the yellow commander here. A lot of hard names in this lobby. Sheesh. The yellow commander going ahead and sending a couple of grunts into the back line to do a little bit of work. Nicely done, of course. Going to be blasting down at least 1 metal extractor and hopefully looking for a second one there. It looks like we will move towards the other mechs on the other side of the map. The other grunt right here, though, the duo of the solo that now is running in the back lines here. The blue team gets shot down. We have 1 more grunt, and it looks like we will get at least a second mech, if not a third right here. Servo, the lavender commander in the backline, who has gone for a greedy air start, so we've gone into a bot lab to build some bot constructors and then eventually into air here. It's the kind of thing you can get away with in lower level lobbies, the kind of thing that you will absolutely be punished for in a higher level lobby, though, especially with proper air scouting and whatnot. But there we go. Grunt manages to kill another metal extractor as well as 2 wind turbines. Not bad. Not bad value for a unit that's not even quite dead yet. Yeah, rocking a hard place here, though, and the grunt finally goes down. My goodness. Buzzum Frog with the shop open at 422. Really? Oh, okay, I see. So rather than sacking the commander, just opening the shop early, using the metal to finish off the T2 laboratory here, rather than using it to, it's kind of like placing a pre-order on a Tesla, right? You give them $10,000 and you hope that a Cybertruck arrives at some point in the future. That's what these commanders are doing, sending 400 metal apiece to the T2 lab here, but it just finally came up and running. That's an interesting strategy right there from Buzzum Frog. Rather than sacking the commander here, Instead, going for that. There we go. Speak of the devil, and he shall arrive in 2 whirlwind bombers headed directly towards your base. Detecting that there is no air player here, or a very late air player into the game right here for the blue team, these bombers come across the field, and they're going to drop their payload directly onto the blue energy production. Boom goes every wind turbine in the blue commander's base. Beautiful bombing runs right there. This is all prior scouting that allowed this to happen. These whirlwind bombers have gotten tremendous value at this point, dropping their bombs on whatever they can here. A couple of bombs falling a little bit outside of the target zone right there, but that's all well and good. It's a relatively minor issue on the back of an extremely successful bombing run right here. Oh, E-Converter's not spaced out nearly enough. They will chain react. This duo of whirlwind bombers has gotten insane value this game. They're not even quite done yet. Another metal extractor falls. Solar panel in a little bit of trouble here as well. One of the bombers shot down. The other one, gets one more set of bombs off and will kill a metal extractor for it. My goodness, what an efficient bombing run here by Homeless, the Red Commander. What a good bombing run. It's rare that we get to see those whirlwind bombers get so much value. They're not extremely armor plated. They're very easy to shoot down with just light anti-air. But man, that feels great as a bomber, or as an air player, because suddenly you know that you have a lot of time to build. You've saved your team a lot of time on the front line, right? You've relieved a lot of pressure, and that's very valuable. Brown Commander on the retreat right here, trying to build up. Looks like we're going to try and snowball out some Whistlers. Okay. I don't hate it, but as an Armada Commander, you have this special tool in your back pocket. It's a mystery tool that'll help you every single time, and it's called the Janus. Especially if you're in a lower rank lobby, I guarantee you the Janus is going to be able to find some value. One way or another, it's going to find some value against the mismicroed forces here of the commander you end up going up against. Twin Guard over here, used to thwart the advances of a couple of Rocketeer marching forward. Ashen Knight, the pink commander, going to step in front of those rockets and absorb them with its body before eventually getting Wolverines out on the field to fire away into the distance. We have a radar tower, but it looks like we have Jammer already up and running right here. Nicely done from Dillinger's. The Green Commander doing a great job of shutting down this aggression, or the potential aggression these Wolverine could be contributing, by just going ahead and building an early jammer. It shuts down all of this, so suddenly the only scouting you have are from these very expensive medium tanks, and I'm pretty confident that Ashen Knight does not want to be sacking medium tanks in order to scout out LLTs. It's just a bad trade, no matter how you slice it. Wolverines, yeah, trying their very best. They're not in assault force, though, and so, yeah, being dove upon by the Incisors here. Kind of an interesting situation. The Incisors jumping on these LLTs, and there's enough of them to kill these LLTs, basically, without question. Oh, but lining up for the D-gun. Beautiful D-gun. Cleaves apart those Incisors right there, as Wicked manages to carve off several hundred metal from the orange economy, sending it to the atomized molecules from whence it once came. And now we're stabilized. We've reached that mid-game in All That Glitters that's fairly common. Basically the gold standard. Love these little metal boxes that we're building here. Hilarious little metal boxes right here. The way that you build these, by the way, there's a fun little micro trick. If you have a unit or a structure and you select something and then you hold Shift, Control, and Alt, it'll circle that structure in whatever you're holding. So it's super useful for walls. But funnily enough, you can do it for anything. So you can see, you can surround this LLT with more LLTs. You can surround it with metal extractors. You could do, like, you know, solar panels, whatever it is. And it's usually pretty smart. Like, it'll figure out how to do it pretty effectively, which is kind of funny. Yeah, just one of those random little micro things and beyond a reason that's occasionally useful. Oftentimes not as useful as you'd think, though. But here we go. The Whistle Trucks have finally found their value as Penguin has dumped hundreds and hundreds of metal onto the front lines here in LLTs that we're never going to find any value. These Whistlers, we should have seen vehicles immediately and thought, well, the era of static defense is over. It's time to go into full-fledged units. As a bot commander, you're never looking to reach for static defenses. You always want to try and go for units over static defenses. The units are more mobile, obviously. They can take advantage of the surrounding bonus a lot easier than static defenses can. Really, the only static defense that might ever be worth consideration, and I want you to take this with a huge grain of salt, is the Gauntlet or the Agitator. And that has to be built at a really specific spot. It has to be built with really precise timing. You have to have a purpose. You have to most likely have a T2 player behind you. What a pawn in the backline here. My goodness. Soccer Panda CPT doing a phenomenal job with this grunt, managing to get it all the way into the blue backline right here. We're going to discover the advanced solar array. I mean, fabulous. Okay. Those A-Solars are pretty tough to kill, but the metal extractors are certainly a much lighter target, much easier to do. Oh, a little bit of mismic right there. Accidentally pulls the pawn back to the main composition. But what a trail of blood. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 metal extractors, I think, went down right there to that single to that single unit moving forward right there. Penguin taking some serious damage, actually. Wow. Whistler's, what is that, 2% per shot right there? Not bad. 2.5 maybe. It's actually not bad damage against the commander, considering how frequently they fire and, well, how far range they fire as well. They can essentially stay out of range of a commander 100% of the time. Warden finding its value here, though. Whistlers, Lashers. What are these? These are Whistlers, right? Yeah, Whistlers. Firing away here at this HLT. I think the HLT is going to be enough to stop the Whistlers. However, there are maces to reinforce all this. So this ends up working out quite nicely here, I would say. Not bad. Eventually, that HLT will go down, but this frontline T2 lab can be very, very dangerous. Maces to defend against those first fiends. I mean, it's a matter of micro, right? If these fiends are perfectly microed, if you actually utilize them perfectly, I think it's probably a good situation here. Penguin so low, though, 6%, and boom goes the Green Commander right outside the T2 laboratory, weakening the production capabilities and shutting down that very expensive T2 structure. My goodness. Well, just like that, the green economy is in the shambles. Penguin, yeah, stops microing units. I think they've walked away from the computer. Starts up another T2 lab on the backline here, but we've also got the T2 mexes up and running. So, all said and done, at the very least, the T2 economy is up and running. So there's T2 units against the T1. They can be efficient enough to bring this back, but you have to get on top of it. Resbot already out right here, by the way, from the Tan Commander. That's phenomenal. It's the most common mistake I feel like I see, especially in lower level games, but even in the pro level games, it's a critique that I make all the time, is not including a resbot in your composition earlier than you should. Getting a resbot on the field in order to eat up all this metal before the enemy pushes you back and kills all your units, super important. You can see now with several thousand metal in the bank and more soon to come, the Tank Commander is set for basically the rest of this game here, yeah. Even drawing a line into the Green Commander, who now, effectively, there is a perfect surround around. Surround around, that's a fun, well, anyway. Medium takes jumping on the Lashers here, yeah, I really, I look at the Lasher spam playstyle with a skeptical eye. There's so many ways to counter it. And they're all relatively cheap, too. It's not really... You have to waste so much metal to get those Lashers, those Whistlers, up to any kind of snowball effect that's basically unstoppable, that I just don't think it's feasible. This is that agitator I was talking about earlier. And you can see there are really specific use cases, like, for instance, firing up and over these hillsides, where it can adjust its firing angle automatically now. I'm sorry, I still find this so cool. There's some of you probably watching this video that don't even know that this wasn't a thing forever. This used to be a firing mode. There used to be a button here you had to click to switch it to high impact mode, where it would aim high into the sky and rain down those projectiles over mountains. Now it just does it automatically, and it looks beautiful. It's kind of... Bar has always impressed me with how smart all of the units and structures are in the game. Like, they behave kind of the way that you want them to all the time. That's not to be said that their micro is always perfect. There's definitely room for, shall we say, potentially over or under microing units. But all I mean to say by that is that, in general, I would say on average, most units in Bar are pretty clever. And now it feels like the agitators, the gauntlets, all those are kind of up to speed with where the rest of the game is at. Medium tanks pushing forward. It's a battle on the retreat right here, so it's not the end of the world. Those thugs, maces rather, doing a pretty good job actually. Maces versus medium tanks is kind of a weird battle. They're really bad until they're really good, and when they're really good, they're almost impossible to stop. And the reason why they're almost impossible to stop is, again, these lovely little bots with a little bit of a, I don't know, a cone-shaped head, and they go by the name of the Lazarus. It's the Resbot. And it turns this battle completely upside down, because suddenly you've got all this metal, you've got all this metal coming back to the economy, not only from your units, but also from the enemy units. And it means that you can produce 2, 3, 4 times as many production structures and or units as the enemy can. Nice catch right here with the Shuriken. Red Commander jumps on top of these medium tanks, paralyzing them. Meanwhile, Brown Commander sacrifices himself in order to shut down those medium tanks that were rolling forward. Very, very nicely done. Uh-oh. Under microed green units right here, jumped on by thugs. This is never supposed to happen for Sheldon. This is an unfortunate loss right now for Penguin, who has now lost a couple of those Sheldon. 410 metal a pop. Very, very expensive to be going down to 130 metal Sheldon. No. Maces, for the love of me. I cannot remember the name of the mace. The mace is a unit that's underwhelmed me for a long time. I had fallen out of favor with the mace, but it feels like it's found a place recently. Just in the way that the meta is shaping out currently, and the way that skirmishes tend to go on a lot of the maps that are more popular nowadays, I feel like the mace has a really strong presence in a lot of these games, which is always cool to see. I will say, though, metal extractor's untaken right here. We need to see a bigger emphasis on claiming these mexes. I think getting those mexes up and online is going to be really important to save the economy right here. You can see the red team with a slight economic advantage because they've had those T2 mexes up and running for a little while longer. But as T2 starts to propagate here through the blue team, those T2 mexes coming online in the blue team will suddenly make up that difference, and then it becomes a matter of who has more map presence, right? And the red team definitely lacking on the map presence, so for now it's just an economic lead based on a technological lead. Arbiter firing away into the distance with its twin rocket launcher, very high-powered, very devastating unit. It's the Cortex counterpart to the Sharpshooter in an interesting way. It doesn't fill all of the same roles, but there's one thing that it's especially good at. It's sieging static defenses right here. This should be the cue that the Cyan commander here, Cafe con Leche, needs in order to see that these static defenses just aren't going to pay out anymore. Yeah, build power, even taking some heavy hits right here from the Arbiters. Nice usage there from Mooper Sega. Maybe it's like super mega, but it's like backwards. Mooper Sega. I don't know. Always funny. And again, no anti-air here for these tanks, so these Shuriken are going to have free reign. Obviously, Shuriken can be super valuable. I've talked about it time and time again, but I'll say it one more time. The Shuriken are maybe one of the most valuable, consistently valuable units in the game. From stopping medium tanks to stopping T3 units, they're immensely powerful, and so it's one of the major reasons why we almost always see Cortex T1 air rather than Armada T1 air. The gunships can be useful in very certain and specific quantities and use cases, I'll say. Trying to cover a lot of bases with that statement, but it's just because they leave so much to want, right? The gunships just will never have the same kind of value that the Shurikens have. The value across different areas of the game, right? There's just so many things that Shurikens can beat, whereas the T1 Banshee is really only specifically good at shutting down very specifically light armored units or structures like wind turbines, mexes, solar panels, that sort of thing. Things very easy to kill otherwise. What a clash. The red fighters flying overhead right here, guarding the Shuriken, which is nice to see. We also have some of those Wasp T2 gunships. They have 1,600 health, which is actually quite a lot for an air unit, so it means that they can skirmish pretty easily on the front line, as long as there's no T2 anti-air. I would say they're pretty much safe to dive in on the front T2 lines and get some good work done. As long as there's, once those flak trucks, once those T2 anti-air towers start to come up, the Wasps have to be a little bit more careful, but at least for the time being, things are looking good. Starlight on the front line here for the Brown Commander, and it looks like, my goodness, we still have maces coming out right now for Soccer Panda CPT. We do eventually get our way into a little bit of a push here. Shut down nicely, though. The Mauser is nice for denying a lot of this. The Sheldon should never be this close to within range right here. The Starlight with a range of 950 versus the Sheldon's range of 850. Oh, interesting. Starlight is the counter to the Sheldon, question mark? Obviously, that comes with the massive caveat that Sheldon can walk backwards and fire at the same time. In fact, they can walk and fire at the same time. The Starlight has no such option. It can fire forwards while it's moving, but it absolutely cannot step backwards. It has to fire forwards. It can't turn that head 360 degrees. I guess, the lenses inside of it that focus the tachyon beam, however it works, they're just too sensitive to be rotating around 360 degrees. I don't really buy it. I think it was probably a Cortex engineer sabotaging the blueprints. They just didn't go all the way. Sheldon making very light work of this T1 outpost here, though. We do have some landmines, some medium landmines. Always interesting to see whether those landmines can find value or not, but the Arbiters firing away here are doing great as well. It's a bit of a battle of attrition, right? Hey, look at that. This is something I always preach. When you're well into the T2 battle, it's basically worth nothing to have these maces on the front line here, so eating them up is a wise decision right now from the tank commander, and I believe we saw, yeah, T2 Lab is already up and running. This is looking very good for Soccer Panda CPT, who is playing from the back line here. This scares me. This horrifies me. One of these E-converters pops, and this entire cluster of energy production goes up in smoke right now. That is a grand whopping 3,500 metal worth of wind turbines, 1,250 energy worth of production. There are fusion reactors already up and running, but still, tell me it doesn't look like the juiciest bombing target you've ever seen. Pitbull's up and running now. Those are still good old-fashioned lashers. We've got missile trucks, T1 missile trucks rolling out to the fronts here. My goodness. I must break you, going for maybe one of the laziest compositions there is in the game. It is cool to see these Starlights work, and I'll tell you what, the reason why these work, by the way, something I just thought about. Look at this. dual pinpointers in the backline. When's the last time you saw a teammate build a dual pinpointer in the backline? Making these Starlights so efficient at firing away here. If they were missing half their shots and not killing as many of these Sheldon, they really wouldn't be worth very much in the front lines at all. But instead, they're hitting every shot that they take, and it means that no matter what you do, as long as that blue beam is firing, it's getting some value somewhere on the field somehow. This push is lovely over here, though, from these Sheldon. Yeah, whittling down the medium tanks. They're going to start encountering heavy tanks, which are going to be a little bit harder to deal with. Not the end of the world, but a little bit harder. They have the HP and the movement speed to actually jump on top of Sheldon if they're not microed back really early. You just have to shift your scale of battle backwards a step. You have to zoom out a little ways and move your units a little bit preemptively. Even still, Sheldon are pretty powerful against them, though. You can see doing a decent job of whittling down these heavy tanks, their armor plating, before they get a chance to get too close, and eventually blasting them to pieces. There's those sharpshooters on the front line, and again, for the same reason, every time one of these sharpshooters fire, because there's 2 pinpointers up and running already, they're going to kill something. What is that, 5 sharpshooters on the front already? These medium tanks are worthless. 235 metal per click going down right here. Pitbull's firing away here as well, and the tick stream giving perfect vision, also helping out quite a lot. I love it. Welders in front. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. This is so beautiful, in fact. Oh, that's not the button I wanted. There it is. I'm gonna go like this. Look at them go. Their little James Bond briefcase guns firing away here. I love the sharpshooter so much. It's probably one of my favorite units in the game. It probably is my favorite unit in the game. Something about the strategic use of a very single high target, high damage unit. It just, it tickles my fancy. And now what are we going to do to stop this? Well, it looks like dragons are going to be the answer. Do we have any anti-air available? We do have some anti-air over here, as long as that dragon doesn't, yeah, fly too close to the sun over here, the proverbial sun known as Ashen Night. Oh my goodness, look at this static defense, tower defense game that we're playing over here. We have a whopping 6,500 metal worth of gauntlets. That is brutal. Cloak. Cloak, 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 cloak. That dragon making me so nervous. I guess there's T2 fighters jumping on top of the dragon here, though, so at the end of the day, it's not really going to matter. Yeah, there we go. Dragon shot out of this guy before it kills anything super important, i.e. the Starlights or Sharpshooters. A little bit of a miss micro, it feels like, right there from the Lavender Dragon. Not the end of the world, but just a little bit of a bummer. Arbiters firing away their heavy missiles and missing all of them. Oh, those aren't Arbiters at all. Those are Negotiators. Oh, interesting. Well, Cafe Con Leche making a huge investment into a unit that really doesn't have much potential in the front lines. I'm not sure I like that at all, actually. The Negotiators are so slow and so difficult to use properly. Yeah, it's a really rough situation. Wow. Just raw sharpshooter marching forward. When the sharpshooters have the line of sight from the ticks marching forward, and if they have those pinpointers as well, they're basically unstoppable. I mean, there's so many units die immediately to a sharpshooter, and so many units die to 2 sharpshooters. The only issue is you have to be sure to spread them out right here. That's the only thing I can really critique about this. Obviously, having a line of welders in front is important, I think. Yeah, it looks like we do have some reinforcements coming up to the front lines here eventually. That's the only downfall to sharpshooters is they can't shoot past each other. They have target sensitivity, so they will not fire past each other. They will only fire if they have a clean shot to the target, which is a good thing because they would absolutely kill each other in a heartbeat if they shot into each other's backs. But it also means you have to be really careful about them. They're a unit based on surface area entirely. Nice D-gun over here, by the way. Saw the yellow commander sneaking towards that early Razorback, come out from the red production facility, manages to D-gun it down, and free open this side for a little bit of harassment. Mammoth in the works right here. Oh, there we go. We do have a Razorback actually up and running already for the yellow commander. Gets that Razorback into a brutal position here. Oh, no. These missile trucks, man. What are we doing with the missile trucks? This many missile trucks in Banishers would have been top tier. Basically unstoppable. Well, okay. If we're gonna keep it still. If we're gonna keep it still. We lost so much HP out of this Razorback just by keeping it still as these rockets landed on top of it. I guess we could dumbfire these. Like, if we just saturate this area with rockets, maybe we'll hit it enough. Yeah, I don't know what the play was here with negotiators. It almost feels like we just went for the wrong unit. It feels like we meant to hit the banisher button, which is here, and instead we just went for those negotiators, the missile trucks. Ooh. Now the base is in shambles. Fusion reactors, build powers, T2 mexes, you name it. It's all gonna go down here. Razorback pops the build power, or should pop the build power. There we go. Nicely done. Yeah, I don't think there's an answer here for the Cyan Commander to give against this T3 beast tearing apart the backline. Starlight Sharpshooter. It's a brutal composition. The Green Commander doing the best that he can by spamming out as many units as possible. It is the effective counter here to the Sharpshooters, but basically can be shut off or can be countered by just microing these units. You just turn them off of fire at will. You just put them on hold fire. And you just stop producing them. You just start making welders to counteract the spam of T1 grunts and whatnot, and then you just micro the sharpshooters to kill, you know, whatever else you need them to kill. T3 labs, pit bulls, pop-ups, anything. They'll be more than happy to do it. Is that a Vanguard? Oh, it is a Vanguard. Yeah, Vanguard made a decent connection here against the sharpshooters. That's cool. Vanguard's sort of like the T3 sharpshooter, if you will. Ooh. Finally, Razorbacks caught here by the Vanguard. Yep, shell it away. Not bad, though. Not bad whatsoever. Hey, Anti-Air in the mix as well. My goodness. I have a feeling that Soccer Panda CPT has been, has been playing a little bit of bar recently. Has been watching some games, because there's nothing more disheartening than watching your entire composition get destroyed just because you forgot to include any anti-air in the mixture. It's a lesson you really should only have to learn once. I learn it every single game, but ideally you'll only have to learn it once. What an interesting composition we've got here. Cyan Commander, maybe today learning the difference here between the missile trucks and the rocket trucks. It's a minute difference, but one that's very, very important. And here, like that, Wicked is now jumped upon by a whole bunch of everything. Fiends, Banishers, Tigers, Quakers, you name it. It's all making an appearance now. Vanguard's on the high ground, by the way. Doing what they can. Oh, microphone turning on and off there. Fiddling with my settings recently, so hopefully this comes out crystal clear. Always a fingers crossed moment whenever I change any of my settings. Never any guarantees when that happens. This is looking great here, though, for the red team. Love these sharpshooters pushing in. They're wasting a lot of their shots, though, on those chaff units, on the ooh, that was a beautiful connection from the Vanguard, on the grunts and the pawns and stuff like that. But I think they've done their work, right? They've taken down the T3 lab. They've stopped the production. We got a Tsar firing at an Aphis now. Boom goes the Aphis. And just like that, the green base is left as only a smudge on the map. A gigantic gray smudge on the map. That's the power of the sharpshooter right there, by the way. It reduces the cloaking inaccuracy, or the radar inaccuracy on cloaked commanders. Means you can snipe them a whole lot easier. The defenses are cracking. Razorbacks on the right-hand side, holding the lines right here and blasting down a Mammoth. Wow, Mammoths are so tanky. The red team with an overwhelming lead. We've got a T3 lab on the front line here for the red commander. Going to be going into some of those beautiful new Shiva. Look at those bad boys, by the way. I feel like I haven't given the new Shiva the attention that it deserves. Look at how beautiful this thing looks. Oh man, I love that model so much. It's like, it's the little things, right? It's the little, like, the shaking in the arms every time it takes a step, or like the, yeah, I don't know, the little like head bobbing, moving up and down. It makes it look so heavy, so beefy, like it's an actual unit. I don't know. I love the new aesthetic design they're sort of leading towards for the Cortex units. I think it makes them much more visually distinct. I will say that, at least. Couple of welders marching forward here too, the clawed welders. I don't know what animal the welder was based off of. Maybe it was mankind itself. But they carry their little lightning tool in their backpack until it's time to deploy the tactical tool and send the enemies screeching to wherever robots go when they die. Robo hell. Yeah, sharpshooters coming out for the green commander. You can tell Dillingers was thinking, wow, those sharpshooters are pretty good. I should give those a try. Unfortunately, my friend, just a little too late. Had those sharpshooters been out on the field a little sooner, maybe it would have worked out here. Cloaked sharpshooters now. A lot of people forget it, but the sharpshooters do have their own built-in cloaking field. It's one of the reasons why they're so energy expensive. That and the fact that they just fire a railgun cannon shot directly through anything they hit. But it means that they can be very difficult to detect, especially for air units. If air units are trying to jump on sharpshooters, they can cloak, hold fire, and basically escape unharmed. It's Mike, not cloaked over here. Gotta hit that K button. Gotta hit that K button. Oh no. No K button was hit today, and It's Mike does go down on the left-hand side. No D-guns were sent. Well, a single D-gun was sent. One of those Shiva does go down, but two more take its place. Like the mythical Hydra. The Shiva's breaking into the powder blue base at this point. Boom goes the build power. The fusion reactor's in trouble. The E-converter's in imminent danger. What are we shooting at? Picking weird targets here. Aphis finally explodes, though, and that was the primary target that we were gunning for. Commander dead over here after degunning some Razorbacks. Trying to degun some Razorbacks. I will say, the Shiva didn't... I don't believe it got a stats change. I will say, however, its new look makes it a lot more menacing. Yeah. I don't want to fight him. I don't know about you, but I don't want to fight him. Shiva right here, struggling with the shield generator, but obviously they have those siege missiles which aren't affected by the shields whatsoever. So they can always just get a little closer, fire away with their cannons, and they'll make it work. Yeah, shields largely depleted at this point. Boom goes the base here of our Seafoam Green Commander. And that leaves the blue team with just two commanders remaining. Yeah. Crumbling and on the verge of defeat. We'll go ahead and speed this one up here, as I do believe this game has come towards its final end. Wicket inheriting the remains of the blue team's bases and self-destructing those commanders. And a final send-off. Boom goes the blue team. Excellently done right there by the red team, taking advantage of a huge weakness right there, a huge lack of an ability to counter a big old push right through the midsection of the map, using those sharpshooters phenomenally to break through the green line initially and then well into the back lines eventually, taking advantage of some teamwork too, as the red commander sent the ticks forward and the sharpshooters obviously took advantage of that line of sight. Excellent hold on the right hand side, a nice cracking there as well, and the blue team with a couple of run bys but just wasn't able to capitalize on it. A very, very cool back and forth match beyond all reason. Thanks a ton for watching, and I sure hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the very next game of Beyond All Reason. Peace out, everybody.